What's up, guys? This is Nick from Arch City Poker, and in today's video, going to be continuing the Poker 101 series with today's topic covering opening pre-flop ranges. So I think that, and we'll actually cover ISOing a little bit, and I'll get into why I'm going to add that. But essentially, when you are considering opening pre-flop ranges, one, if you guys look up, like pre-flop hand charts, the ranges that I'm about to give you, don't just take those and implement those in a 100% absolute way. You want to be able to adjust to the table. If the table's tighter or looser, you got to be able to adjust to that. So these are just merely a suggested starting point, and they're specifically tailored for live low stakes games. The reason that I'm doing this is that I've had public messages and private messages from guys that are playing live low stakes games, and they would like to maybe have a little bit better idea of what kinds of hands they want to enter the pot with. So we'll get into a few different concepts as far as this goes. I do want to apologize real quick for the last week for the absence of videos. I had a tournament series in town, and I was playing a lot of hours of live tournament poker, playing a lot of online poker. So the video schedule was going to be reduced a little bit, but I should be back to more of a full-time schedule this week. So look forward to all the normal videos and episodes. Getting back to this topic, though, I think that there's a few things you want to keep in mind, or well, actually specifically one thing, pretty much one thing that you want to keep in mind as far as pre-flop open ranges. So rake structure. You want to keep in mind how the rake affects your game. Live low stakes games are usually eaten alive by the rake, and especially if you live in a city or a casino where there's not many casinos around you, like within a few hours essentially. So if your rake is pretty darn high, a lot of them are $6-7 with like a jackpot drop, then you're going to want to play tighter, and you're going to want to get more money into the pot pre-flop, and you're not going to want to see quite as many flops because the rake's just going to eat away at your win rate. So do keep that in mind as far as how loose you're opening. Now, the second thing that kind of goes hand in hand is, how does your player pool play? What will a raise pre-flop accomplish with the specific player pool? Well, with live low stakes pools, the majority of the pool is not driving to the casino to fold pre-flop. So, and they're not thinking about things like range versus range interaction, about board coverage, about balance. These are all things that mostly are going to go out the window for you. So the ranges that I'm about to suggest are very tight for the most part, quite nitty. Ranges that I, to be quite honest, hate suggesting, because I think that, being someone that's been playing more online recently, but is used to studying for tougher games, and even when I've been grinding the lower stakes games, my post flop edge is such that I can get away with playing a lot looser and not have to worry about the rake as much, but I still adhere to that, and so I still play tighter in a lot of spots that where in a bigger game where the rake doesn't affect me with tougher players, I'd be more balanced, have a little more board coverage, maybe be a lot more loose in certain spots in position. So keep that all in mind, but let's get into the actual, meat of this topic. So from early position, I would definitely suggest a tight and linear range. I think something like pocket eights plus and your suited broadways and then ace queen offsuit are going to be your definite opens. These hands all play pretty well multi-way. You will flop quite strongly if you flop well, and you'll usually dominate your opponent's calling range. A lot of their combos that they hit with will be worse than yours. So I think that these combos are all definite. As far as combos that might be considered to be added in if the game is a little tighter and you need to loosen it up, or if you have a definite post-flop edge, you can consider ace-jack offsuit, king-queen offsuit. Those are the only two really offsuit broadways that I would start adding in to my early position raising range. You can start adding in possibly 10-9 suited, more pocket pairs like maybe 7s and 6s, and then maybe like some suited baby aces. But I want to make it very clear that unless the game is quite tight and or you have a massive post-flop edge, I would definitely just keep within the limits of like 8s plus, the suited broadways, and the ace-queen offsuit, simply because like I said, you don't want to be seeing as many flops, but you want to come in with stronger ranges that dominate your opponent's way too wide pre-flop calling ranges, because there's not going to be a lot of 3-betting going on in these games. You're going to be the one hopefully doing most of the 3-betting. So I would stick to those ranges. You don't need to worry about balance in board coverage really at all in these games. Now, if you start playing with regulars, if you play with the same guys all the time, then yeah, maybe add in occasionally some stuff like 7-6 suited or like pocket 6s and 5s. You don't need to get so low into like pocket 4s to deuces or like 5-4 suited, 6-4 suited for like a weak gapper, simply because with, let's say like the occasional 9-8 suited, 7 or 8-7 suited, and then like pocket 7s, those have enough board coverage on 7 high boards, and you just don't really need to get much lower than that. But the main reason that I suggest being much more linear and tight is, like I said, rake. Your opponents aren't paying attention to board coverage and balance. You just want to come in with stronger ranges and stronger hands, and you'll dominate them in a value-heavy way post-flop. Middle position, it's not going to change a whole lot. I would just simply add to like the 8s plus, maybe 7s and 6s. You might not even have to add 6s, to be honest. And I would probably add, as far as adding to the suited broadways, probably like 10-9 suited, maybe ace-9 suited, ace-8 suited, and then definitely ace-jack offsuit, king-queen offsuit, and then some ace-10 offsuit. Like I said, those are merely suggested added combos to that early position range. Adjust accordingly to the table. Now in late position, when you're on the cutoff or in the cutoff and the button, you definitely want to keep in mind rake, and if it's worth trying to open wider to steal the blinds. If it's not, I pretty much would stick to a pretty strong range, simply only adding combos to that middle position range of combos that I suggested. And we're going to get into ISOing a little bit just because that's going to be the most common scenario for you guys. There's going to be a lot of limping in these games, and you're often not going to have the chance to open raise from the cutoff or button. So as far as ISOing goes, keep in mind the same principles. Your opponents are entering the pot in a weak and wide manner as far as their ranges go. So you're going to want to dominate them with strong ranges and hands post-flop to where you can get a lot of value out of them. So when they open limp, if there's one open limper, I would stick to pretty much, I would say maybe like your middle position ranges and add in a few combos. So like as far as like your late position range goes, maybe something like 6s plus, maybe not even that. You could go just to 8s plus again. Suited broadways, some suited gappers, maybe like if you go, well, let's go with the suited connectors. You can go 10-9 suited, 9-8 suited, 8-7 suited. Those are all fine. You can go Jack-9 suited, 10-8 suited, and maybe even 9-7 suited if you feel comfortable with your post-flop skills. And then add in more offsuit broadways like King-Jack off, King-10 off, Queen-Jack off. These combos will still be a part of a strong dominating range for you. They'll just be more at the bottom of your range. The thing is, if you have position, you can get away with playing weaker combos simply because you have position. You don't need to hit as often. Your opponents are just going to be playing not tough enough from out of position. You'll get a lot of check folds. You'll get a lot of check calls on the flop, but then over folds on the turn. So definitely keep in mind having a stronger range, still a stronger linear range of hands that you want to ISO with. The more limpers there are, the tighter I would make that range and simply just adjust for that. So I think that'll pretty much cover it. These ranges, like I said, are definitely just a suggestion, a good starting point for a lot of you guys that are struggling. Keep in mind, because in a lot of the messages I've received, guys are saying that, I'm coming in with hands, like good hands, but I'm seeing multi-way flops and I'm missing the flop, all the time. I just did a video on this a week ago. It was on being card dead and missing flops. Check out that video. I'm going to link that video to this one where I talk about how to handle missing flops all the time. But essentially, you guys are printing money in theory if you follow this strategy. If you just come in with stronger ranges, you don't need to worry about balance and board coverage that often, maybe at all, depending on your table. Like I said, if you play with any kind of competent opponents or regulars, then you might want to add in some hands for, like some combos for balance, essentially for, the ability to be a little bit deceptive on some boards. So I do think that Overall, though, just keep in mind the rake structure, come in with these strong ranges. Don't worry as much about board coverage and balance, and simply just keep in mind where where you are in position and go from there. So if you guys have any questions or comments, go ahead and let me know as always. Until next time, this is Nick from Arch City Poker. Take care.